While everyone has been swimming and partying this summer, I've been spending my summer in a small, dusty, hot-as-hell thrift shop. My parents forced me to work for my Aunt Gigi because of the lollipop incident. Long story. The bottom line is that I could have spent all summer working on Dawson. But instead, I was stuck in this hellhole. You'd think at almost 20, my parents would give me some leeway. I guess not. "You can't wear those shoes here," Aunt Gigi said, pointing to my neon pink flip-flops. "Why not?" "When you're working here, you're the face of my business," she replied. "Part of that is wearing nice shoes. Besides, there's lots of heavy stuff here. You could break a toe while doing inventory." I rolled my eyes. "Closed-toe shoes only, Nadia. I mean it." She shuffled back into her office and came out with some musty-looking sneakers. "What size are you?" I scrunched my face at her. "These are 9s. They'll fit, right?" I took the shoes and squeezed my feet into them. "These are small 9s, I told myself. "Ah, who are you kidding? You're a 10 wide on a good day. Part of the territory with being a freaking giant." "Good enough," I said, giving her a thumbs up. I was going to rip them off as soon as she was out the door. "All right, I'm heading out," she told me. "Someone's supposed to come in to buy the rug this afternoon, so don't hide out in the back like last time with those ear things in." "AirPods," I corrected her. She waved me away, like I wasn't worth her time. "Someone's really coming in to buy the rug?" We'd gotten it yesterday, and it was completely awful. It looked like the love child of an ugly brown shag carpet from the 70s and some sort of animal pelt. Long brown synthetic fibers almost like fur, in a huge rectangle, and Aunt Gigi was asking $400 for it. In retrospect, I should have thought that was kind of sus, but at the time, I just thought she was being greedy. "It's a large rug, and great condition for its age," she told me. "It looks like shit," I replied. "Language." I rolled my eyes behind her back. The rug wasn't the only thing in the store that gave me a visceral yuff reaction. She had a whole collection of those tiny porcelain figurines with the sad eyes. Precious moments, I think they're called. I'd seen her sell those, though, for crazy prices, to little old white ladies by the dozen. And there was the glasswork lamp, with an abstract design on it that reminded me of eyes. It made me think of those butterflies that had eye patterns on their wings to confuse predators. It kind of creeped me out. "Are you sure you'll be okay without me?" Aunt Gigi asked, as she grabbed her bag. "I'm sure." I wasn't sure. She'd taught me how to use the logbook and online inventory system, but I hadn't completely been paying attention. I'd been sending Dawson texts that he was leaving on red. I'd just have to wing it. Aunt Gigi walked out the door, and then I was alone. Just me and all this stuff. I knew the basics of the inventory. Gigi didn't use barcodes, but each item was tagged with a number. I could look up the number on the computer or in the logbook and find the price and other information. I sat down at the desk and stared across the shop, through the motes of dust, towards the window. Wow, what a beautiful view of the concrete apartment building next door. Giselle's Thrifty Finds was set on Orchard Street, which was really just a glorified alleyway. I sat down at the desk and pulled out my phone. Texted Dawson again. Work is so boring. The check marks appeared, but he didn't reply. Frowning, I tossed the phone on the desk. I got up and began to pace, since there was nothing else to do. I kicked off the sneakers and put my flip-flops back on, treading over the ugly-ass rug. Item, number 319, according to the tag. I wondered if Aunt Gigi had only ever sold 300 items, or if she recycled item numbers. She'd been in business 10 years, so she must have sold more than 300 items, right? Although the store was usually empty, I turned around to pace again, the long shag hairs of the carpet brushing my toes. And then it happened. My foot caught on something. Gum? Oh, yuck, what is it with his rug? I yanked my foot up, but the flip-flop seemed stuck fast to the brown fibers. Gross. I yanked my foot again, hard. My flip-flop popped clean off. The straps flew up into the air, my arms pinwheeled. The sole stuck fast to the rug, and then I watched in horror as the rug engulfed it. The brown, furry fibers sort grabbed onto it, moving over the plastic like each hair was a tiny caterpillar. The shoe sunk into the brown fur, and then in seconds, it was gone. I scrambled off the rug, horrified. What? The actual fuck? I began to panic. But then I remembered that random famous Reddit post about carbon monoxide poisoning and ran out into the alleyway. I gulped down fresh air, 1 foot bare. A passing woman raised her eyebrows at me. I gave her a death glare back. After 5 minutes, I went back inside. The hairs of the rug were undulating slightly, like there was a breeze moving over its surface. But there was no breeze, and the flip-flop was still gone. I called Aunt Gigi. She didn't answer. I called again and again until the bells above the door jangled. I looked up to see a man entering the store. He was tall and thin, wearing a long trench coat. A brimmed hat kept his eyes and most of his face in shadow. He didn't even so much glance around. He just made a beeline for my desk. "Can I help you?" I asked. His ice blue eyes narrowed in the shadows. "Where's Giselle?" he asked in a low voice. "I'm her niece. She asked me to work today." He was silent for a moment as he stared down at me. Then he spoke. "I'd like to buy the rug." My heart sank. "The rug," I croaked. "Yes, is that a problem?" He opened his wallet and plucked $400 bills from it, placing them on the desk. "400, right?" "Yes." I took the money, not even checking if the bills were counterfeit. On shaky feet, I led him over to the rug. The hair on it was still. I need to warn him. "The rug," I said, choking on my words. I don't know how to say this, but it ate my shoe." "Oh, so it's working then." I glanced up at him, my heart pounding. "Help me roll it up, will you?" I swallowed. Then I crouched onto the floor and slid my fingers under the rug. It felt oddly warm. I cringed as my fingers brushed the brown hairs of it. I could tell they weren't completely still, devoid of life. They responded slightly to my touch, caressing my fingers. My stomach lurched. I worked as fast as I could, rolling the rug up. It was heavier than it looked, and by the end of it, my arms were aching. "Could you help me get it in the car?" he asked. I lifted the end of it without a word, and the two of us shuffled out the door into his car. I helped him load it in the back of his pickup truck. "Thank you," he said, tilting his hat at me. Then he got in the driver's seat, and with a roar of the engine, drove away. I went back into the store, my whole body shaking. I put the money away in the cash register and stared at the wall for several minutes, trying to process everything that happened. Then I pulled out the logbook and marked item over 319 as sold. When I returned the logbook, I noticed the book next to it. It was a narrow binder, same as the logbook, but on the spine, Aunt Gigi had written manual instead of logbook. Curious, I pulled it out. It was filled with pages that I could only describe as photocopies of textbooks or scientific documents. It looked like each page had a number at the top, and then lots of information underneath them, sometimes arranged into tables. There was one problem. The titles didn't say things like Item 100, but Entity 100. I flipped to Entity 319, and stomach-dropping began to read. Entity 319 Class 3. Presentation. Entity 319 appears to be a brown shag rug, consistent in style with shag rugs manufactured in the 1970s. It most commonly measures 72 inches long and 48 inches wide, but it is known to shrink or grow based on the size of the room. Its internal temperature measures at 76 degrees Fahrenheit, and chemical analyses show that carbon dioxide measures slightly higher in the room where it resides. When inactive, Throga 319 poses no threat to humans or pets. Safety precautions. Thor 3119 will enter its active state if touched by bare feet. Closed-toed shoes are a must. Recovery procedures. Unfortunately, there is no current known method of recovering lost items or persons from entity number 3119. Origin: number 319 was originally found in the home of recently deceased Ms. Olafarchis Mauderouse on Narachizumar Street in Narachizumawars, Ohio. The home was built in the 1970s and purchased by house flippers at a steep discount. During renovations, one of the contractors went missing while pulling up the shag carpet in the living room. According to security camera footage, no one exited or entered the building at that time. Brought it to the facility under suspicion it may be an entity. I stared at the page, my mind swimming. Then I read it again. It was like reading something in a foreign language. But I also couldn't deny that I felt its warmth, saw its fibers move, saw it engulf the sole of my flip-flop. Aunt Gigi knew. She told me to change shoes. I grabbed my phone and called her again. She didn't pick up. What the hell is going on here? I sat there, staring into space. And then I saw it. My foot. The one the rug had grabbed. There were hundreds of tiny red specks on the skin, like little pinpricks. And they began to itch. I ran to the bathroom and stuck my foot under the water, desperately scrubbing at my skin. I hoped that when I called Gigi again, she'd pick up, this time.